Hello, everyone. I'm Cecilia from ISSIP here. So we have ISSIP Ambassador, Marianna Sigala, joining us from Athens today. Hi, Marianna. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Pleasure to be with you.
I know that, could you just make a brief introduction of yourself first?
I'm a professor of marketing at University of Piraeus. I actually specialize on tourist marketing with an emphasis on technologies and their impact on marketing, but also innovation.
Oh, great. Awesome. And if there is any interesting service innovation research project you are leading right now, or you've been working on, would you like to share with the ISSIP community?
Well, as probably everybody has experienced, tourism was, and it is still is, an industry that is hugely affected by COVID. This has actually forced a lot of companies to try to innovate in order to survive, in order to maintain customer continuity, or at least retain their customer interest. So during the last years, I have been doing research about innovation by necessity or imposed requirement of innovation, which is probably a totally different perspective from the innovation that we are usually, let's say, faced with. We usually see innovation as something that companies identify a gap and they try to fulfill it, or as a radical innovation that somebody wants to, or it aims to reinvent the wheel or do something breakthrough. This is a kind of a forced innovation. The necessity, the survival, has forced companies to change things in terms of how they operate, what type of services they provide. Technologies has been a major force enabling or supporting this kind of innovation. And actually have been doing research about the facilitating or inhibiting factors enabling the industry to innovate.
That sounds fascinating. Is there any particular role played by emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and big data in tourism industry?
Well, certainly. I mean, these technologies have been the lifeblood of the industry. They have been in use even before COVID. Unfortunately or fortunately, their adoption has been quite slow. Yeah. But then, as I said before, COVID pushed the accelerator button. Whatever the companies were claiming that, you know what, we need to start using robots for receptionists, for waiters, for whatever purpose. They haven't done it, let's say, for 5 years. They did it within a day. So that was the accelerating force of technology innovation in the tourism industry. Of course, they are again different speeds of adoption in the industry. The ones that they were IT ready were the first to and the most able to respond immediately. The ones that they were not ready probably are already dead or they're still struggling. So yes, the technologies is the lifeblood of tourism. And actually COVID made it even more important. The industry wouldn't have been possible to restart without the technologies. I mean, think about touchless transactions, services, customer tracing, mobility, vaccination passports, you name it, crowd management systems. Technology is the lifeblood, that's it. You can't have tourism without technologies.
Exactly, yeah. The digitalization of the whole industry has been accelerated. The thing is that
now with metaverse and all these new digital twins technologies, the industry is going to transform even more. Probably everybody has heard the news that the Olympic Games are going to be in the metaverse as well. This is going to transform the whole industry, not just Olympics, but the whole events industry, business events, function events, cultural events. And again, it's not something new. I mean, virtual reality, it has been around for years. What COVID has done again, it has accelerated the adoption by both the supply and the demand. The supply has seen it that they can do it. And they have seen that now the demand is also asking it, because we have been experiencing virtual events online, virtual drinks with friends, weddings with parents and other family, because we were not able to travel. We've seen the benefits. We don't want to travel all the time. We want quality of life and balancing work and leisure time. So both sides have seen the benefits of it. They have experienced it during COVID. These technologies are here to stay. And now it's just an issue of implementation and widespread innovation. So to a certain extent, what I have probably found in my research is that during COVID, we haven't actually seen the development of new technologies, if I can be creative, or the wider use of existing technologies by more companies and more customers, which is again, as part of innovation, quite important.
Definitely, definitely. And also, like, while you're mentioning about, the fact that technology is becoming the lifeblood of the tourism industry, is there any sort of, the impact on different sort of, the people with a different level of digital literacy? So for example, older, the customers in tourism industry, like senior citizens who are not really familiar with the technologies, are they able to get the benefits out of this, the emerging technologies used in tourism industry as well? Because inclusive design is important, right?
We usually stereotype that the old people do not use technology.
It's not stereotyping,
right?
I think
it's totally wrong.
It's not stereotyping, but I think it's more like they want to use it, but then they're lacking the digital literacy compared to younger people, right?
Well, of course, the younger people are the digital natives. I mean, they are born with the technologies, they take it for granted. But the mature people, I don't want to call them old. I mean, there is different definition. I mean, think about it. The one that is nowadays 80 years old, 20 years ago, he or she was 60. At the year of 60, he or she was probably still active, still working, using technologies at work, or even for business purposes or for family. They are not ignorant of technologies. Probably they are not highly skilled as, of course, the digital natives, the younger generations, but they are technology literate. They can do basic things. During COVID, they were forced to do it to stay in touch with other people. So I don't think the gap in terms of the digital gap between the generations is as wide as it used to be, because we used to have a big gap in terms of technology readiness. But of course, yes, the technology is accelerating, and the younger generations, they can do more things with technologies, or they take things for granted that you can do and see with technologies.
Exactly.
Now, having talked about, I mean, you were asking me before about sustainability or innovation. The technologies, particularly in tourism, a major reason for employing them is to try to make the industry more sustainable from all points of view. Definitely. When we talk about sustainability, it's not just the environment, although the environment is really very important. Reduce the emissions with more efficient planes, or reduce waste, reduce energy. Or in some way do more recycling and so on. Sustainability, it also means that probably you try to manage the flow of customers or the crowds, or try to overcome over-tourism problems in major destinations, try to diffuse people off track with different mobile apps. Sustainability, it also refers to more equal distribution of income between different countries, between regions within the same country, give the information to people to support smaller companies and not just the multinationals. Sustainability means enabling people from different socioeconomic backgrounds or disabilities to be able to travel, even without traveling. I mean, think about virtual tourism. It means many things, and I can start giving examples of numerous technologies and innovation in tourism that they are not specifically targeting to, let's say, enable companies to make more money or reduce their costs.
Yeah,
which is the
yeah.
usual stereotyping again in terms of innovation.
Definitely. Yeah, you're completely spot on. So like I think because you mentioned a lot about sustainability in your response to the survey we ran last November. And then what you've just said is just that, you know what, sustainability is not just only about environmental sustainability, but it's all about the achieving triple bottom line, right? Like social and the human well-being, and then also the environment sustainability. So you're completely, spot on. I think in tourism industry also, like they do talk a lot about, sustainable tourism, right? I think like there are some companies that offer sustainable tourism options as well. What do you think about it? Do you think that is the latest trend in tourism industry?
Sustainability as a term is already
It's a
dead.
buzzword, yeah.
If I can, if I may use this terminology, sustainable since the 70s or 80s. Nowadays, the latest buzzwords, they refer to transformative tourism, regenerative tourism, responsible tourism. Some people, they say it's old wines in new bottles. In some way, yes, but also no. Sustainability, again, as a terminology or the way it has been implemented, it brings a conceptualization that we try to reduce the negative impact, whereas the new terminology, particularly only trying to continue doing tourism, but reducing the negative impacts, but try to do tourism by also creating positive impacts, creating new value. So you're going on holidays, let's say in Africa, I don't know, in a developing country or even in a developed country, it doesn't really matter. But by being a tourist, you generate wealth for you and for the community. You get to learn how the locals live, you respect their culture, you eat locally, you support local enterprises, you might get involved in a voluntary activity to clean a park, to teach English to the local, contribute, generate positive impacts in whatever way anyone can help. So I want to believe this is not just an issue of buzzwords or words. There are words that they also try to create a new mindset and also a new business and social practice as well. They have a meaning, they have some substance in some way.
Absolutely, absolutely. As a last note, is there any final thoughts or things you would like to share with the ISSIP community before we close the call?
Something that it really bothers me during the last years of COVID. COVID has enabled everyone, as we usually say, to rethink, reform, reset, restart, whatever. I'm really fed up with that. I have seen also the opposite, particularly with the restarting of the tourism industry or any other type of economy and industry. I have seen what I call revenge tourism or revenge consumption. Many people, companies, countries, they just make plans in terms of how they want to go back. So all this philosophizing of, the next normal and what is going to be, probably is not going to be better because we were just philosophizing. I really want to see action on what people, governments, organizations, whatever, have been claiming. I've been doing research on CSR communication and social media, let's say, communication in tourism. Unfortunately, the majority of the companies during the COVID or even now, they are forwarding messages like, go on holidays, it helps your health. Or go on holidays as ethical consumption. That, continue consuming and you contribute. Well, we don't want you to consume. We want you to consume, but consume differently. And this is not the message that it has been passed on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing very interesting research projects and your thoughts with the ISSIP community, Marianna. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
If you haven't done so, you can subscribe to our ISSIP YouTube channel. You can easily Google, and then also please follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn. Thanks everyone, and see you next time.